It's day 13 of the federal election campaign, and it's also a Friday. Does that make it Friday the 13th in a weird way? I already hit you guys with my new podcast episode today and my new fact-checking segment for the National Observer, which picked me up after CTV canceled, so I'm very excited about that. But you can't quite get away from me yet because we have to talk about what happened on the campaign trail today. And then I can finally go outside. First up today was the Liberals, who made a promise to give $150 million to the underfunded CBC. He also wanted to make the broadcaster's funding statutory, which would make it harder for it to be cut for ideological reasons, like say if one political party leader decided that it was fake news and wanted it to be defunded. Carney said, quote, "With this plan, we will protect a reliable Canadian public forum in a sea of misinformation so we can tell our own stories in our own languages." While speaking at this press conference, Carney also got questions about something that, yet again, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith said. Because this most recent tariff announcement wasn't painless for Canada. We just got hit with new auto tariffs and there are people out of work already. Thousands of people. And we've still got the steel and aluminum tariffs, and we've got those totally ridiculous border-related tariffs, and all of the tariffs that hit everyone else are gonna impact us too. Because we don't live in a vacuum. But what did Danielle Smith have to say? Yeah, she called it a big win for Alberta and Canada. I think some auto workers in Ontario might like a word. Anyways, when pressed about this today, Mark Carney had this to say.
I don't think this is time for celebration. It's a time to fight those tariffs. It's a time to protect our workers and the companies affected. And it's time to build, including our cultural institutions.
Carney also got questions about the fact that the Liberals just dropped another candidate. This time after National Post reported on some comments he made 16 years ago, in which he appeared to be praising Hezbollah and Hamas at an anti-NATO protest. In a written statement, Rod Loyola said, quote, "I did not think that an intro at a hip-hop segment 16 years later would get me cancelled after close to a decade of serving as an elected representative at the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, but here we are. I want to be clear, I unequivocally condemn brutal killings, terrorism, and abduction, whoever does it." He also said he gave the party full disclosure on his stance on Palestine and that he is a person who, quote, "is going to fight for the rights of Palestinians always," and he said that he had no idea this video existed. The exact quote from the video, according to CBC, is, quote, "Organizations like Hezbollah and Hamas really are trying to stand up for their people, and that needs to be recognized. These are movements for national liberation, not terrorists." The Conservatives also ousted another candidate today, and the timing was rough, because Pierre Poilievre had just made an announcement about tougher sentencing for intimate partner violence. And then the Conservative candidate who is running against a survivor of the Polytechnique massacre, you know, the horrific act of gender-based violence where women were killed simply for being women who went into engineering. Yeah, he accused the woman who survived that act of mass violence of exploiting her own tragedy. And he got the boot. So by my count, that's the 5th candidate that the Conservatives have dropped this week. And pressure is also rising for them to drop another candidate, Aaron Gunn, who made some really horrific residential school denial comments. Multiple First Nations leaders are now calling for him to get the boot. So yeah, I guess we'll see how Pierre, Sir John A. Macdonald was the first great Prime Minister of the True North Strong and Free, Poilievre, responds to this one. Oh, did you think I was done talking about Conservative candidates? Because I'm not done talking about Conservative candidates. Luc Lebrun, our friend at Press Progress, had a huge scoop today about Conservative candidate Andrew Lawton, formerly of True North, you know, that great little right-wing news organization. Yeah, Luke reported that Lawton used a secret signal group chat with the Freedom Convoy leaders, right-wing media, and far-right influencers. The story is absolutely wild and you should all go read it, but there's literally moments where he has screenshots from the chat of Andrew Lawton taking suggestion from convoy people of what to post on Twitter, posting it, and then sharing it in the chat. Like, what? He was also making all kinds of like lame jokes in the chat. I really recommend you go read this story. The Canadian Anti-Hate Network also pointed out that there was someone in the group chat who is a self-identified white nationalist and another person who promotes neo-Nazi documentaries in their live streams. Seems like a really cool group of people to just be shooting the shit with. The NDP also made an announcement today about their plan to stop Canadian companies from using offshore tax havens to avoid paying those levies. Under the NDP plan, corporations would only be able to set up these offshore accounts if they can prove they have a, quote, genuine business reason for doing that. But the reason I want to talk about the NDP today isn't because of this announcement. I want to talk about what the NDP just did to this woman. Jessica, who built a really big social media following talking about human rights and women's health, she was one of the content creators who took up Jagmeet Singh on his offer to work with content creators. Then this human thumb, I don't actually know if he was the first one to make this an issue or how it went viral, but he made this video claiming that Jagmeet Singh made a video with someone who does SW, and a bunch of media wrote the most misogynistic, disgusting, pathetic framing they possibly could for this woman who is so much more than her line of work, but also her line of work is fine. And they made it sound like a video that she made that was highlighting the danger of dehumanization of children, in this case of Palestinian children, was a disrespectful video. I watched the video, and what I got from it was she was just highlighting the danger of dehumanization and villainization and how that can create the context for acts of mass atrocity. But the NDP threw Jessica under the bus and sent a statement to the National Post that frames this as somehow diminishing the Holocaust, which it absolutely wasn't doing. If anything, it was respecting the legacy of that horrific act of violence by recognizing the patterns as they apply in other situations and hurt people. I'm sorry about the screenshot, Jessica. I just realized I grabbed it really fast. And now Jessica has to deal with the fact that when people Google her name, they're gonna see this, and a lot of people probably won't read past the headline. That's not just on the National Post and the Toronto Sun, that's also on the NDP. It's just so chicken shit. Anyways, Jessica, I am sorry this happened to you. It's not okay. I'll be watching to see if the NDP does anything to make this right. But yeah, that is the news today from the campaign trail. We're heading into the weekend. I don't make these summaries on the weekend, so I will see you guys on Monday for the next update. Until then, what do you think of all this?